Welcome to Gone Fishin'. On today's show, your hosts TJ Schwenke and Bob Kirkpatrick fish for pre-spawn lake trout.
Hi, I'm Bob Kirkpatrick.
Hi, I'm TJ Schwenke. Welcome to Gone Fishin'.
We're at Key Camps, about 170 miles north of La Ronge. Fishing for lake trout. It's late fall. And wow, I got a nice one on here. We're fishing in about 6 or 8 feet of water. Sometimes casting right up to shore. This is a nice fish. And these fish are active.
All right.
That's a beauty. I'm gonna give you a bath.
Oh, you might. Get his tail around here.
All right.
Well, there's a beautiful lake trout.
Hold them.
No. There we go.
All
Whoa,
right.
look at that. There's about 12, 13 pounds of trout right there. What a battle.
In 5 or 6 feet of water. It's late September. The fish are just coming up. It's pre-spawn. Most of these fish are males, and they're just really aggressive right now. We're going to have a great time catching lots of big fish.
Stay with us. There's some hot action.
He smacked that nice. Well, TJ, let's get him back in the water.
You bet. Fish like that deserves to live. Oh, he was anxious to go, too.
Boy, they're aggressive when they're up that shallow. Now, using that glove makes quite a difference to land those fish, too. If you do get a hold of their tail, you can get a pretty good grip on them, can't you?
Oh, those trout, it's just like a natural handle for them, and with that Normark glove, they don't slip at all, and you can hang on to them really well. Okay, well, it sure is a crisp autumn morning out here, I'll tell you what. It's a nice about 20-minute boat ride here, at least it should have been. We're a little bit red-faced. We kind of took a wrong turn this morning and turned a 20-minute ride into about an hour, but we got where we want to be, and the fish is sure turning good.
Now, both of us are using a chartreuse spoon, and I don't know, trout are really color sensitive, and sometimes you have to change during the day. Sometimes silver works great, sometimes orange, and we found this chartreuse today is just working fabulous. Now, one of the reasons that we started with this lure is we've had some pretty good success with it in the past, and TJ and I were fortunate enough to be up here last year about this time and had some terrific trout action. And I always say, you hear me say it quite often, well, we'll be back. Well, this time we are, and we'll be back here again. I know that.
But it is really true that all the trout and the salmonoids, they have some of the best color vision of any of the fish. So probably with them, it's more critical than anyone to establish a color that's working. I know walleye and pike, a lot of times it's more the lure action than the actual color, but with trout, color does make a big difference.
So when you're starting out your fishing day, if there's 2, 3, or 4 of you, everybody should start with a different color. And once you start catching fish on a certain lure, then start switching over to so everybody has the same color.
Well, look at him peel drag. Now, we've just been trolling along the shoreline here, basically to see if we could locate some trout, and we had a hit off the shallow point, so we decided just to drift across it and do some casting, and wow, it didn't take long here. This is a nice fish. Now, we're just casting some about 3/4 ounce to 1 ounce spoons just up into the shallows. Ooh, look at that.
Here, I'll give you a hand with that one. That looks like a good one.
Oh, yeah.
It's got to be 8 or 9 pounds.
Yes, at least. So I think we're just going to stay here and cast a while. It seems once you locate some fish, if you can just stay and cast on them, you'll catch quite a few.
Which side you gonna go, or what side he's gonna take you on?
Not really up to me. Okay, we're gonna net this fish because he's fairly big. And if he ever wants to come in here, there's a few things to do when you're netting to properly net a fish as well. The biggest thing is to get him head first, and not to be in a real big hurry or panic. So here he comes now. You can just try and kind of lead him up into the net naturally, and just like that. And that way, if he decides to scoot in a real hurry, he'll go right into the net rather than getting out on you.
Now, if you're really gentle when you're netting, you won't do any damage to these fish, and we can put them back in the water.
You know, don't let them flop around on the floor or anything. And
it's where your partner can really help you out. You get the hook out of there?
Yeah, it's actually not that bad. You take it all the way in. There's a nice fish, about 8 or 9 pound lake trout. Put up a tremendous fight. I think we'll get this one back in the lake. And just kind of hold them here till they get the strength to swim on their own. One thing about trout, if you just let them go, sometimes they'll just sink to the bottom and actually die. They just don't have that will to live. So you can just hold them up and let them get their strength and just let them swim out of your hands. So this trout put up a tremendous fight. So it's just going to take him a bit to recover. Okay, I just banged another one there, Bob. See what we got here. Oh yeah.
I'd like to catch some smaller fish for shore lunch. We're going to keep some of the smaller males for shore lunch if we get any.
Barry's promised us his famous shore lunch, and we both had it before, and I'll tell you,
it's worth it.
It's worth
it, but we'd like to get some of the smaller fish. Can't you catch a smaller one than that?
This is a problem you love to have, is not being able to catch shore lunch because the fish are too big. No, I don't think this one's going to go in the frying pan either. Maybe we'll just show you a proper way to net a fish here. You know, a lot of people do like to net their fish, and it's not so bad, especially with a trophy fish or something like that. And if it's done properly, the fish can be, you know, released quite easily as well. So maybe Bob will do the honors here for me. About got him up to the boat here.
Well, that means I got to stop fishing too.
I'll get him around the other side here, Bob. Looks like he's trying to tangle in the motor here.
Now you don't want to stab at the fish with the net, so just going to let TJ kind of lead him head first towards the net.
Now you always want to net those fish head first, because what happens when they see the net, sometimes they'll take a big lunge straight ahead. And if you got them at the head end, they'll just run right into the net, whereas if you try to go by the tail, they'll flick right out, and you know, you can lose a big fish. I'm trying to get this one in, honestly, Bob. Boy, these fish are scrappy.
You have to wear them down a little bit too. If you go after them when they're too green, you're going to probably lose them.
We're using some pretty light line here and light tackle, and you know, really enjoying the fight that these fish put up. We have another 10-pound fish here.
He's not giving up easy.
This is unreal. Like, this is so much fun catching these fish in shallow water like this.
Well, if you decide to get that one up near the surface, I'll try and show how to properly net it.
I think he's coming now. He's finally getting tired.
With a great big fish, you may have to play him for 15 or 20 minutes to get him wore down enough that you can successfully land him.
Now you notice that this fish, I'm not actually reeling him in. What I'm doing is I'm pumping the rod up, and then I'll reel down to him, never giving him slack line. If you just reel against that fish, you'll never gain. Okay, here you go. Maybe not.
He starts coming, he sees the boat and gets going the other way.
Here's what you do. Just lead him straight in like that. Perfect. There's another dandy fish. And if you do that, you'll never have to worry about losing a fish. And don't bang these fish around on the bottom of the boat when they're in the net like this. Looks like another male.
Yeah. There, the hook just came out.
It looked like he was hooked too well.
Another nice fish.
You bet. Those are some dandy lake trout anywhere. Yeah, we'll get him back in the water. Look at the colors on that one.
There he goes again. They sure like this chartreuse spoon.
I'll tell you what, I can't believe it.
Oh, look at him go.
We always talk about the anointed lure.
Oh, he's running harder than he... That's the third or fourth run he's had.
You hear people talk about the anointed lure, and it's one of these lures, you can have 10 of them, the same brand, same color, same everything, and one that catches fish, and this is the one, I'll tell you what. It's a chartreuse crocodile spoon, and it's unreal.
Good place to get them. Won't tear out of there. You got him this time?
There's a beautiful trout. Some of that prism tape starting to peel off. Sometimes just adding some prism tape like that will really add the effect of this lure. And this lure is effective on its own.
I've had to replace that prism tape 2 or 3 times now.
What a beautiful fish. Look at that colors. Look at the white on the head, around the mouth and things. It's the only time of year you'll really see that. Oh, get that hook out of his mouth.
Hold on.
There we go.
Roof of his mouth.
That's a gorgeous fish.
Well, TJ, right now I won't sell you this hook for any amount.
Okay, I think he's ready to go. There we go.
Great.
What a gorgeous fish. You haven't got any more of those hooks in your box, do you?
Nope, the only one I got. You're not getting it.
Shore lunch is a major part of any northern fishing experience. The smell of wood smoke permeating the air and the sound of fresh fillets sizzling in a fry pan is enough to stimulate anyone's appetite. Food really does taste better in the outdoors. Now stay tuned as Bob and TJ head out in search of more trophy lake trout action at northern Saskatchewan's Key Camp. Key Camp is located about 170 miles by road north of La Ronge, Saskatchewan. The main lodge and guest cabins are located on Cane Lake, but the majority of fishing takes place on Oliver and Genna. Once on the other side of the portage, anglers head out and explore the countless bays, points, and islands in search of lake trout, northern pike, and walleye. Oliver Lake is rated as one of the top producers of trophy lake trout in the province. Fish in the 8 to 10 pound range are common, and many 20-pound trophies are hooked each season. Oliver Lake offers fly-in fishing quality at very affordable prices. Key Camp is undoubtedly one of the best bargains in the north.
Wow.
I like the way that hook's sitting right out the corner of his mouth.
He's got another hook in his mouth,
He's got
too.
another hook in his mouth.
Shows how active they are.
Yeah. See that sticking out the side of his mouth? Didn't know what that was.
Now there's a couple other people fishing up here today, and actually some people fishing right around here. So obviously he bit someone else's hook and parted with company with them.
I don't know if that was today or not. Boy, that is...
It's a beauty, that one. I think I might use a landing net on this one.
Yeah, I think you should. He's really thrashing. I'm scared he's going to saw my line off here. Especially with that other hook.
That other hook hanging out of his mouth. Just be a little safer, too. We're using, fairly light line here. You got 10-pound.
I got 10 pound on here.
So you can't horse these fish at all, and there's no sense reeling against them. Just kind of pump that rod up and reel back down to them nice and slow. There's no hurry at all. This fish isn't going anywhere.
Got me excited though.
You bet. This is what these trips to the north are all about. It's just fun like
Well,
this.
anytime you can drive to a camp and catch fish like this,
Be in a big hurry to net them here.
you've got to take your time with these fish. Let them wear down a little bit.
15, 16 pounds, I'm sure.
Yeah, I think he's just... Ooh, maybe I spoke too soon. I think he's just about ready to come in. Nope. Ooh, is he ever shaking his head? I don't want him to
Yeah.
hook out of his mouth. Ooh.
Resist that temptation to net by the tail.
Don't do it.
You get awful excited sometimes with big fish like this, and you want to take that lunge for it, and it's...
Oh, it's the same working the rod too. You get excited and you want to give them that little extra.
Guaranteed way to lose them. Oh, that's a beautiful fish.
There, all right.
That's a gorgeous fish. Way to go, Bob. Beautiful fish.
I'm gonna just take them out of the net here and be careful with all those hooks in there. I don't know where that other one is, for sure.
I can get you entangled here.
Just in the fashion.
That other hook tangled up here. The other angler was hooked into this fish. Feeling sorry. Beautiful.
Oh. Well, that's terrific. Like I said, anytime you can drive to a camp and catch fish like this, wow, you can't beat it. Now that's the other guy's hook, this one. I'll add that to my collection, obviously. Obviously he was excited about that.
Not that we're going to rub it in back at camp or anything.
Well, this may have been there for a while. Now, that hook is also barbless. Guys pinched down the barbs on that hook, but he was hooked right around the jaw here, and it was awful tough there to get the hook out. Now mine was hooked pretty well too, right in the corner of his mouth.
Well, that just shows how well barbless hooks work. You know, I mean, you always talk about if you give them slack line or whatever, you don't want to, but you know, obviously that fish had a lot of slack line when that line did break, and it still stayed in there for this long. So, you know, barbless hooks are quite effective.
Well, PJ, I think we should take some pictures of this and get her back in the water. That's what we've been looking for. And I've been working this fish for about 10 or 15 minutes. He put up quite a battle, and for a while I didn't think he's going to make it, but let's keep working him in the water, back and forth a little bit, and he's really seemed to be revived now. He's squirming a little bit, so I think next time he wants to go, I'm going to let him go. There he goes. Great.
It's time now for Pokey's Pro Tips.
And we tried a variety of different lures and spoons for these lake trout in the last couple of days, and the two that seemed to work the best was this Mepps Cyclops or a Lure Jensen Crocodile. As you can see, they are quite similar in shape. They're both quite thin and have an S shape to them, which gives them a very erratic action in the water. The two colors that seemed to work the best were the silver and the chartreuse. Now this particular hook I've had in my tackle box for a couple of years. I've been very fortunate not to lose it, and I've caught a lot of big lake trout on it. I've actually wore the prism tape on. I just put some new stuff on. I've had to change the hooks numerous times. I've sharpened them so many times they just kind of lost their edge. And one of the things you can do when you are catching a lot of fish like this is pinch down the barbs. Now just take a pair of pliers and pinch down the barbs on these hooks. There, now the barb is pinched down. They'll be easy to remove from the fish. One other thing that we did to make these lures swim a little differently is we were pumping our rod back and forth, pumping it ahead, and then letting it flutter back. And that seemed to be when those trout would hit the lures the hardest. We also used the steel leader. Just like when you're pike fishing, these trout have a lot of teeth and they can cut your line off. And once they do hook up, a lot of times they'll twist and roll. So it's very important to use a steel leader as well.
Now, we started out trolling for these lake trout to locate them today, and once we located them on a point or a reef, we'd just stop and start casting. And so we're using bait casters today, and there's a couple reasons for that. The reel itself is designed for casting, and sometimes we do a lot of casting and it's nothing to fling out a couple hundred casts in a day, so they're quite easy to cast, and they're pinpoint accuracy with them. So a lot of times we were dropping right close into rocks at shore, or we want to drop on a certain spot. So with the bait caster you can achieve that a lot easier. And also some of these lake trout were pretty big like you saw, and the star drag system is second to none. So with the lighter line, we're using 10 and 12 pound test line. You know, it's important that you can rely on your drag system, and you can't horse these fish with that light of line or you're going to lose them. So that was the reason for that. Now I was using a 6.5 foot rod, and one thing you notice about this one, it's got the long handle. It's called a trigger stick. So when we're trolling, you can just kind of tuck it in under your arm all day long, and it just rests there, and it, you know, it doesn't put a lot of strain on your wrist. And when you're fighting fish, you just hold it up and fight them quite easily. It's a medium action rod, so you get a good feel with it, and it lets you fight the fish. It's got good bend at the end, so if they do take powerful runs, the rod will give a bit. And also on the strike, it's quite important that that tip gives a bit when they first hit it. With too stiff of a rod, they'll hit it, and if there's no give, they'll actually spit that hook right away. So with a trolling rod, there should be some give in the tip section, so they can hit it, that tip gives a bit to them while they hit, then you got lots of rod there to fight. I mean, it's in the backbone where your fight comes from. So that's basically why we use these setups today, and you know, we use them on a lot of other species as well.
And now these spoons we're using have quite an erratic action, but a lot of times the trout will just follow. They'll find it and they'll just follow for a long ways. So we're pumping the rod a little bit, and that makes the lure dart forward and then flutter back, and sometimes that's just enough to entice the trout to strike. We've had quite a few strikes just trolling and not working the rod at all. We start moving it a little bit and we're getting a lot more strikes.
There's one. A little one by the looks of it.
Yeah, just pumping that rod sure makes a difference.
No kidding. You hit it just as it was dropping back there. It's usually when they will hit it.
I'll get in here and give you a hand with that one.
When that lure jerks ahead, it really catches their attention, and then when it flutters back like that, it's a pretty easy target. Nice eating size.
Small.
I think I can get him.
Oh,
there he goes. Now most people think shallow water lake trout fishing is pretty well confined to the spring, and there's an excellent bite here in the fall. I know up here we're about 170 miles north of Laurens. Usually towards the end of September, about the third week of September, the fishing really turns on shallow here. And just look at the depth finder. We're in 4 feet of water here. We got about a 8 or 10 pound trout on here. And we've been picking most of our fish up, 5, 6 feet. So don't think that big lake trout are only confined to the spring. You're missing one of the best times of the year.
no, there.
Oh yeah.
That's a nice trout, TJ.
I bet it is.